Hey, I'm Nancy Cavey, National ERISA and Individual Disability Attorney. Welcome to Winning Isn't Easy. Before we get started, I've got to give you a legal disclaimer. This podcast is not legal advice. The Florida Bar Association tells me that I've got to say this, but once I've said it, nothing prevents me from giving you an easy-to-understand overview of the disability insurance world, the games that disability carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you deserve. So, off we go with today's episode. Disability carriers can be excessively sneaky. In fact, they often will cherry pick medical records and scrape evidence from files that supports their claims denial, all while ignoring the mountains of evidence that suggest you are indeed disabled. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about three things. First, how Reliance Standard's doctors cherry pick medical evidence to justify the denial of a colitis and Crohn's disease disability claim. Unum's cherry-picking medical records to justify a claims denial in an ankylosing spondylitis case, and how Hartford cherry-picked the medical records when the policyholder doctor said that he was hopeful that the policyholder could return to work in 6 months. You can see that this is a strategy that every disability carrier employs in creating reasons to deny claims. And it doesn't matter who your disability carrier is, there are lessons to be learned from these cases. So let's take a break for a moment before we get started in this week's episode.
Have you been robbed of your peace of mind from your disability insurance carrier? You owe it to yourself to get a copy of Robbed of Your Peace of Mind, which provides you with everything you need to know about the long-term disability claim process. Request your free copy of the book at kvlaw.com today.
Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Ready to get started? How Reliance Standard's doctors cherry-pick medical evidence to justify the denial of a colitis and Crohn's disease disability claim. Disability carriers like Reliance Standard routinely have your medical records reviewed by a liar-for-hire peer review physician. Now, that peer review physician is paid to find reasons to justify a claims denial. And one of the ways they will do this is to cherry pick the medical records. And that's exactly what happened in the case of Bilkey versus Reliance Standard Life. Now, Ms. Bilkey was a clinical manager and she had gastrointestinal problems. They were chronic, and she had colitis and she even had Crohn's disease. Now, her problems got so bad that she had 6 inches of her colon removed in 2018. And you can imagine that by 2019, she couldn't work. So she applied for her disability insurance benefits, and Reliance Standard, who's notorious for claims denial, said no. The medical records documented that during the relevant 10-month period, Bilkey saw her doctors or got emergency care 11 times. There was a brief period when medication helped her GI symptoms, but just a month later, she was hospitalized on an emergency basis. She was diagnosed with prednisone-induced diabetes. Now, Reliance noted that Bilkey's urgency and bloody stools had improved with Humira. And for a period of time, her abdominal examination findings were normal. And during this period of time, her doctors didn't place any restrictions or limitations on her ability to work. However, after this very brief period of improvement, her symptoms clearly became disabling, and they were severe enough to prevent her from working. So what did the liar-for-hire doctor that Reliance Standard hired to review the medical records do? Well, guess what? He cherry-picked the medical records for that 1-month period where there was a temporary improvement in her gastrointestinal illness. That was enough to justify a claims denial. And you can imagine that this case made its way to federal court, and the judge weighed in. So what did the court say about cherry-picking the medical records? The court noted that a reviewing physician is not required to agree with the opinions of a treating physician, but they can't simply ignore the treating physician's conclusions or other medical evidence in the record without explanation. So the liar-for-hire review or opinions were found to be fundamentally flawed, and the judge criticized Reliance Standard on the basis that they couldn't ignore or discount the severity of the policyholder's symptoms. So in other words, what the court said is, look, you don't have to agree with the fact that she may or may not be disabled, but you can't ignore the fact that the treating physician's opinions and conclusions supported a claim of disability after this temporary period of improvement. And you, disability doctor, disability carrier, just can't cherry pick or ignore that evidence without explaining why it is you're focusing on this particular period of time, and in this case, the 1 month period of time, to justify a claims denial. Because when you look prior to this 1 month improvement and you look after this 1 month improvement, she was clearly disabled. So in this particular case, the court criticized Reliance Standard for cherry picking the medical records and relying on the opinion of their liar for hire doctor without an adequate explanation as to why this medical provider rejected the opinions of the treating physician and just focused on that little narrow period of improvement. Got it? Let's take a break.